super excited this morning. We're going to have a session in BYOD, and I'm very excited about our two panelists today. We have Mr. Ken Woody from Guilford County Schools. He's the Director of Technology there, and he's going to talk a little bit about what they're doing or getting ready to do as it relates to BYOD. We also have Terry Bledsoe, Chief Information Officer for Catawba County. He's going to talk about what they're doing as far as it relates to BYOD in their county. How many of you are doing BYOD projects right now or have it on the radar? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Are you scared to death? Well, you're in the right session. Hopefully, we'll be able to kind of talk through some of the issues, some of the things that are good about BYOD and some of the things that are not so good about BYOD, and then try to hopefully help you formulate a strategy to move forward. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ken, because I don't want to eat up their time. So he can talk through his presentation, Terry will talk through, and then we'll open it up for questions and discussion right after that.
We'll get this all set up, and let's start the set. Now I'm going to preface this by saying, I'll look at the step back. My name is Ken Woody. I'm Director of Technology at Guilford County Schools. How many school IT folks we have here? Okay, a few. So a lot of where I'm going to talk from my experience is going to be from the public education section of this. I think it does have some relevancy that will extend into what local governments do, and I'll try to talk to those as well. A lot of my slides are going to be kind of wordy. It's not my intention to read off the slides, but a lot of it contains some technical information about our process by which we're going to initiate a BYOD strategy within Guilford County Schools. It might be helpful if you knew a little bit about Guilford County Schools, so let me kind of give you kind of a quick, this is who we are. Guilford County Schools is in the central region of North Carolina. We are the third largest district in the state of North Carolina. We have 73,000 kids, roughly 10,000 employees. BYOD is a strategic plan that they plan to announce at the state schools in January. Now, I'm going to kind of focus, I'm going to talk to you about the geek stuff. What we plan to do to make this work. But I've got to preface what I'm going to say is everything I'm going to show you, in my opinion, is going to be the easy stuff. Setting up networks, making bandwidth available, making systems do what we want them to do. That's what we do for a living. That's fine. The other side of this, the other side of the coin that I think are really going to affect the educators is the PD side. When you have that teacher in that classroom who is part of the BYOD initiatives, you know, we say, yay, your school now allows BYOD. So you're in the classroom, you have 10 kids with laptops, different OSs. You have 5 kids with iPads. You have some kids with e-readers, some kids with smartphones. And now that teacher has to create an instructional plan which allows all those kids to use those devices to inform their instruction, that 21st century classroom. So that's really where I think the heavy lift in all this is going to come, is that jump into making meaningful instruction out of that. Now, to add to my particular pain, and it's kind of an aside to this conversation, to support BYOD, the district is also pursuing Race to the Top district. I think a lot of you in education probably heard of this. Our auditor says we're going to be fairly competitive, so if we get it, in addition to BYOD, we're also going to launch a one-to-one initiative, which right now with a technician to computer ratio of 1,001, one-to-one initiative will make that 2,000 to 2,500 to 1. So our challenges are going to be quite steep. And next year, if I'm still here, I may not be here as a success story, but as some kind of casualty of war. But that having been said, give you an idea, an overview. We're going to support the One Initiative and the BYOD initiative, but I think all this terms here. We hear in the education called BYOD, BYOT, bring your own technology, BYOPD, bring your own perfect technology. But essentially what we're looking at is consumerization of IT. Okay? Consumer design, built products, making their way into our enterprise, our neat, orderly environments. There's things that we know how to make them do what we want them to do, bring these things that misbehave all the time, and making it so that it's safe for kids to do what they need to do, or for your employees to do things they need to do. Okay? We understand that because this is the trend where the world's going, we're going to see more and more of these personal devices making their way into the classrooms, making their way into the offices. Then there needs to be some mechanisms in place to manage that in a meaningful way. Looking here, one of the things I'm going to go ahead and say here is while the units are less expensive compared to PCs because the people are buying them themselves, I'm going to go ahead and say this. I don't count this as necessarily a benefit because when we're looking at the numbers, the best BYOD comes out cost neutral because of the expense that you're going to have to pay to get your network where it needs to be to allow them to do the things they need to do. So if you're pursuing BYOD as a cost savings, you're not going to be happy. You're not going to be successful. It's not going to save you money. Now, where it does provide you benefit is people are comfortable with what people are comfortable with. They like to use what they like to use. You're going to have your iPad users, you're going to have your netbook users, you're going to have your Galaxy Tab users. They are happy with what they're happy with, and they want to use that thing. And if they're a director of whatever and they have a budget, they're going to buy that thing. And then they're going to bring it into your IT folks and say, make this thing work. And that's going to be the challenge. And there's some things that we're not going to be able to do to overcome that. It does allow resources to information. So for the education sphere, this allows a child to have access to network resources, internet, information websites, all that's available all the time. And so that enriched classroom experience is very real. It can happen. But the downside of that also is classroom management that becomes important. We have a school, maybe familiar with it, Motley, they've paid for several times. They went to a one-to-one initiative with iPads. Wonderful devices. Well, I get constant worries in place because kids are going to inappropriate sites. They're trying to get around filters because we filter everything. They're trying to get around filters to go to inappropriate sites. I was actually asked, believe it or not, can I block the search term ugly fat? Well, yeah. The way our filters work, we can block it so ugly fat people comes up and says this is a disallowed search term. Well, right after that, you may imagine what's going to happen is we're going to be asked to, can you block the term unattractive fat? It never ends. So classroom management, for those of you in the instruction sphere, we can't fix that through IT. Parents and teachers are going to have to jump on board and understand that if we're putting these devices in these kids' hands in a BYOD setting, then the teacher has to have some mechanism to monitor that behavior to make sure that the kids are not wasting their instructional resource trying to do something silly. Okay. Our goals is we need to have the bandwidth available. All locations in the school will have adequate wireless coverage. We should have some critical applications. NC-wise, of course, is going away, but that's been replaced by Power School. Of course, that'll be our priority at that time. online testing, 2014. Everybody know about 2014 in online testing, right? Yeah, I see you nod. In the educational sphere, all state administered tests are going to be administered online. Okay, this becomes a very real thing. Now, the problem is, if you think of a standard statewide assessment, it costs approximately $4 million per edition to create. Can you imagine somebody allowing that on a personal device, an iPad, for example? I can't, because if a child then uses the recording tools built on an iPad and records all the questions for the test, you've invalidated a $4 million test. One child, one school, then puts it on YouTube, and then that test is entirely $4 million worth of state money is gone. Okay, so BYOD will probably not be good for this, but the one initiatives could be. There are some mechanisms you can deploy and make it available through BYOD, but those tend to be expensive. Centric solutions, VMware type solutions, those kinds of things. We're really committed to being device agnostic. One of the things we hope to help avoid is, right now we're in the mix of the tablet wars. Everybody has their chosen device. iPad, the Apple users are really very kind of religious zealots in our system. I don't know how the other users. It's a religion, and if it's not an iPad, it's satanic, and it must be shunned at all costs, which is really rough when you're a Microsoft-based district. But we try to accommodate them. We provide them access onto the guest networks and such. But we're trying to develop our networks to be device agnostic. We want to make it connecting very simple for all users. I'm going to show you how we're going to go about doing that. We want to identify all users. Right now in our district, we've, through Active Directory, every student in the district, all 73,000, all 10,000 employees are in our Active Directory, so they have a username, they have a password. Okay. We want the network to be protected from mobile devices being infected with malware. So we've enacted a NAC system to prevent devices infecting other devices within that network itself. Okay. For us, what we're looking at, and I'm going to try to highlight those areas where I think we're really is the wireless coverage. Right now, what we're looking at is one access point per 30 devices. It seems to be kind of like the sweet spot. You can certainly do more devices per access point, but after you get past that point, wireless devices tend to start gumming up. That's my technical term for it, and don't allow all the devices to behave very well. I think as most of you in here would know, is when you're in a wireless environment, the device that is connected furthest from the AP dictates the speed of all of the devices connected to that AP. So for what we're finding is it is pretty important for us to try to keep access points fairly close to the area. So our current model is one access point per 2 classrooms. We have some high saturation schools, but that's turning out to be inadequate. So we're having to move those high saturation schools. Those are schools with a 2-to-1 ratio of mobile devices per child. We have some special funding schools that receive extra money to get devices, and they're running more. They have more mobile computers in their schools than they have students by 2-to-1. Those schools actually need one access point per classroom, or putting the access point actually on the cart so it can be in the room with them. That really makes an important difference when you're looking at these connections. Bandwidth optimization, we talked about it a little bit later. That's where we're looking at, and we're adding some appliances this coming summer to try to make this happen, where different devices, by what de facto what they are, can get access to certain amounts of bandwidth. We're thinking things like perhaps telephones will get small, if not no access. I don't know where we're going to come out on that, because if the teachers want to use smartphones in their classroom, we don't want to cut them off from the wireless access. But it's a very real thing where when you put things out there, people will jump on. Right now in our district, on any given day, we have between 8,000 to 12,000 non-Guilford County schools mobile devices connected to our guest network at any given time. So that puts a certain amount of strain on the bandwidth. That's in addition to we have 30,000 hardwired PCs, and I think it's 8,000 mobile devices currently deployed. So when you think about essentially double the number of mobile devices, that does tax networks in some locations. Technical support. That's where probably where most of you, if you're nod your head, you said you were nervous. That's probably where you're nervous. Is what do you do with technical support? Now I can tell you what Guilford County Schools thought is on BYOD and technical support. Our intention is to say we supply a network. We're going to make it easy for you to connect to that network. But if you're having a problem with your device, then that falls into your realm of responsibility. We're not going to touch personal devices. We think that causes all kinds of litigation issues. Like when my technician touches somebody's iPad, they're not, was it genius? Isn't that the term? If they're not an Apple genius or an Apple guru, then that voids the warranty. So we're going to try to stay away from touching personal devices. On one devices, that's a little bit of a different story. Okay. To do this, we're looking at phasing. This includes bandwidth authorization, our wireless access controls. We're going to 802.1x authentication. Our middle school expansion for wireless coverage. Now, our elementary schools, we're looking at one access point for 2 classrooms. In the middle schools, we're looking at possibly doing 1-to-1, and with the goal of 1 access point for 30 different devices. We're also going to pursue having support personnel to manage network, not to manage devices, but to manage network. That's for BYOD, the 1-to-1, there'll be additional personnel to help with the actual 1-to-1 classes. High schools, we're also looking for a 1-to-1 ratio, one access point for 30 devices with additional support personnel. Right now, we're 1-to-2 in elementary. This will be phase 3. Since they're already 1-to-2 in the later years, we're hoping to move them to 1-to-1, 1 access point for 30 with additional support personnel. Because of our elementary schools being the majority of what we're looking at, they'll be split in half. They'll be over multiple years. And by then, we should have an idea of what the bandwidth is going to look like. I know in one of these slides, I actually have our predictions of what our needs are going to be, bandwidth, and I can share that with you in the interest of time. Okay. Right now, and this is what we're going for. All schools will be provided wireless coverage, provide a AP class ratio of 1-to-1 classroom. I've talked about that. If anybody wants to see these slides later, I'm going to have to share them with you. Try to get where it was. In order to control this, how many people use Cisco clients? Cisco. That's a Cisco is what we go with. Whatever flavor you use for your wireless access is probably going to be okay. We're going to move to the Wisdom 2s. They seem to be doing really well for us, is providing us high availability. It's kind of rare for us to actually have problems with our wireless networks. The routers and switches don't typically go down. It is a premium cost to do it, but we are moving from our current Wisdom 1s to Wisdom 2s. Okay, management. Right now, we are using the Cisco wireless control systems to maintain. for those of you who are interested, for BYOD, we're not looking at mobile device management for our one-to-one initiatives. We're currently using a product called AirWatch. Anybody familiar with AirWatch? Okay, about half of you. AirWatch is one of the possible mobile device management solutions that you can choose from. As far as company-owned devices, I do recommend that you consider purchasing some kind of mobile device management. Even if it's an iPad that you don't do anything other than you allow them onto your network, having something to control their behavior can be important to you. It also gives you the advantage of when the devices start walking about and ending up in weird places, you can go about finding them, which in large institutions can become quite important. Go ahead. All right, this is our next thing. This is going to be we're going to add those appliances I talked to you about earlier. What we're trying to do is when a user comes into our network, they're going to see a single wireless network. They're only going to see one thing. But when they connect to it, the network's going to be smart enough to figure out this is a Guilford County Schools laptop. It has all of the Guilford County Schools things, so it becomes authorized. So it's allowed full access to all of Guilford County Schools' internal server resources, and its level of access is then dictated by that person's Active Directory. So that will allow them to do whatever they need to do. The next device that connects is an iPad. Let's say it's Guilford County Schools' own, but because it doesn't have the same level of security, is allowed a segregated network, but it is not allowed access into any server materials. Okay, so that's a level, it dictates the bandwidth is allowed, it dictates its access. The next device that connects is some kind of Android tablet. It is not Guilford County Schools, it is allowed guest access only. All off the same physical wireless network. The network determines what they do. Okay. I'm going to skip all this because I realize I've probably got 5 minutes. Okay. All right. Let's talk about bandwidth then. For our administrative sites, we're trying to make sure that our connections, internal and external, administrative sites, 10 megabits to 100 megabits, high schools, 100 megabits to 1 gig. I can let you read all that. Okay. When we use the bandwidth optimization, that's going to allow us to then take the most advantage of that. Right now, our external pipe is 1 gig, and we're trying to get as much of our, we're a hub and spoke system, make it all of our schools be able to have a 1 gig connection to our central pipe. Okay, the way we plan to do this is through a product called nclgisa. This device it has a lot of different organizations that have been using this. We've been reviewing it, and we're going to test it out, and I'll let you know next year whether or not it actually works. Okay. I'm going to save the rest of my time because I can jump through a lot of this and cover this later.
Terry, any questions for Ken?
How do you provide access to client-based applications on your district network from a BYOD?
Okay. Well, right now, I'll let you have this. All right. Right now, client-based, what we hope to do, I'm going to have to say this is a hope, is we are needing to find some application virtualization tools. We looked at Citrix originally. Unfortunately, the rep who came in had no interest in helping me with desktop applications, or he wanted me to change my entire district to thin clients. And the way I could afford that with a nice price tag of $4 million per year was I could lay off 90% of my staff. The conversation didn't really go well beyond that. So I am looking at, I'm coming back to, I found another rep who handles Citrix. I'm going to revisit that. Citrix is a good tool. VMware is a good tool. Finding a way to do that at our scale has been somewhat of a challenge, because in order to present a virtualized desktop, you really have to have a lot, one server can virtualize, depends on what you're running, but 20 to 100 desktops, kind of as range. But when you're talking tens of thousands, that's a lot of servers, that's a lot of space, it's a lot of capacity you have to build in. I'm not really sure that's a benefit to us. So hopefully something new may come on the market that might help with that. But that will be a challenge. Yes, sir.
Would the alternative to that be everything out of your district?
Could we? Yes. Do we want to? Probably not. Our district, our culture has always been, we like to keep our data close. We do some cloud-based, we do allow some hosting. But by and large, whenever we have a discussion with any of the departments, if the conversation goes into hosting, the director, whoever it is, will always ask the question, well, what happens if this company goes out of business? It doesn't matter if it's Microsoft or whoever. So, well, what happens if they go out of business? Well, we can get the data back. Well, how do we know that? Well, because we have a contract with them. But what if they're gone? And so eventually we end up, this is how much it would cost for us to host. Okay, and they'll say yes, we go on. That's more of a politics for us. Could we do it? Yes. I would suggest that if you do it, for the times we have, is we write very strict guidelines for who's allowed to touch our data, under what conditions are allowed to touch our data. If we have a breaking relationship, what format does the data need to come back to us in? So our contracts are very explicit with how we receive data back.
Sure. I'm going to do a little poll here for just a second. And I'm not going to ask how many of you have some kind of smart device on you, because I'm going to be really disappointed if probably 99% don't have a smart device on you. Okay, but I'm going to narrow down the questions a little bit. How many of you have an Apple product smart device with you? Okay, how many of you have an Android smart device product with you? Okay, how many of you have a device that's, let's say, less than 3 months old? Okay, so as a government entity, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to take all those devices, I'm going to give you one, and we're going to choose it. What would you say? Yeah, and you're probably about my generation, aren't you? So if you take a look at the new employees coming in and you tell them that, what's going to happen? Well, I want to take bring your own device in a little bit different direction than the technical here, and we may get back to that. But when you start talking about bring your own device, there's a whole lot more to it than controlling a device out there. You're talking about personnel issues. You're talking about your ability to grow into the future. You're talking about your ability to retain young employees. By the way, do any of you know the average length of stay for a Gen Y personnel? How long do you think they last at a company? I'm talking about, this is United States wide.
3 years.
1 to 3 years. Actually, you're pretty close in there. It's 2 years. And a lot of the reasons they leave is because the companies can't provide the technology and so forth that they want and to deal with. So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it up here is, if you talk about bring your own device, then you also talk about bring your own apps, And you know, sometimes a young person comes into your area of employment and they're a specialist in some type of programming or something like that, but you can't even afford the tools that they are using on their particular device. So there's applications that they bring into this. And then, okay, you all were connected here and so forth. How many of you use the Dropbox? Okay, we won't even get into the public record of that. But the point is, what is Dropbox? It's the cloud, isn't it? You're using the cloud in different ways here, and I bet you most of you are using the cloud in one way, shape, or form. They asked you about moving all your stuff there. I don't believe we'll ever move everything there. I think it's going to be a hybrid. And so that's what you have to have with bring your own device, is a lot of things that work together. Perhaps I should tell you how we got into the cloud, and I know those in local government is going to relate to this really well. I gave the county manager an iPad. That's how we got into bring your own device. Okay, because, well, can I do this on it? Can I do this on it? Can I do this on it? And you're just going to tell the county manager, no, you can't do that, I'm sure. Just like I'm not going to tell him no. So that's how we got into bring your own device, because he said, well, you know, if we're using this, can't so-and-so with their own device do the same thing. So that's how we got it, and that's how we deal with a lot of this. There's a lot of things that come with bring your own device. We've got apps that are extremely expensive, but sometimes there's a $20 app out there that will do the same thing, or might even make the employee more productive, and we're finding that all the time. This is what I was talking about a few moments ago. When you look at bring your own device, it goes back to some other things that's tied with it in the human relations. And it takes more to get employees today than just money. And we know we don't have a whole lot of that. But bringing your own device is one of those ways you can get into it. And this is what I'm talking about the Gen Y. They're not going to be there 9 to 5, and they're going to need the tools. And the question is, if they don't bring them, can you afford to give them the tools that they need? And my guess is you're going to try to force them all into one mold, and then that's not going to work at all. So these folks are not going to be in your employment very long. And the fact that they want to be connected. How many of you heard of a wire hire? What is it? Do you know?
Companies are buying up other places just for the talent. I don't
Buying
care
up.
what they do.
Yeah. Can you do that? It's a government agency. You don't have that option, do you? So you're going to have all the advantages that you can to get new employees in here. You can't just go out and buy up a company to get the talent. So one way is to be more flexible with those employees in a number of different ways. And in Catawba County, we've got sort of an initiative called Employers of Choice. And what we're doing is to look at the different ways that we can give employees flexibility. We look at giving employees flexibility, first of all, in schedules. Okay? And flex time in our organization doesn't mean that instead of coming in at 8, you can come in at 8:30 and work till 5:30. You know, it means that you may work from home, or you can have a time that you may work in the afternoon and the evening hours. It's all structured, but still, we're giving them a lot of flexibility. But the other thing is their own devices. And we really went down this road to try to get more choices, more opportunities, and to just correct some problems of the past. And one of the problems of the past appeared to me in the sheriff's department one day when a deputy come walking in. And he's got the belt on. It looks like he's from a Batman movie. And on that particular belt was 3 cell phones. Now, first of all, you say, well, why does he have 3 cell phones? Well, the sheriff's department was using the Nextel system for one thing. They were using another cell phone for another thing. And then he had his own personal cell phone. So he's carrying 3 cell phones. If a crook came through, he could not chase him down because of the cell phone. So, you know, you start bringing some of those things together to come up with the bring your own device. So I want you to think about the possibilities when you're talking about bring your own device. Because we've been in this for over 2 years now. The first thing it does is, I can't afford to put the latest technology on everybody's desk. But you personally, you may want the latest technology, and you're using your own income to do that. So we have a constant influx of new technology coming in. And you'd be surprised the jealousy factor there. Okay, you know, John got a new phone, it's his personal phone, I want the same phone. So the latest technology seems to flow not freely at Catawba County. Another thing is unique resources. Remember how I asked you about what you're carrying? Some of you are very passionate about your iPhones. Some of you are very passionate about Android. With this, you allow the employees to make the choice if they're willing to carry their own. And, you know, you have all kind of things and possibilities coming into this. So what you have going on with Bring Your Own Device is a constant melting pot of new technology, new innovation that you're bringing into your system. I haven't mentioned that scary thing about security or anything, have I? Okay? But if you consider all the risks that you have there, I think you'll find that this allows you to move forward, and what has to happen is exactly what Ken has. You got to build that back end to support all of this. You can't build it just to support one platform and so forth. And that's the whole key, is building that back end. This is what we have connected to our network, and it's not near as much as you're going to have connected to yours. But right now, this is a smart devices from a report that I got yesterday. You can see that the Android people are going to like this, aren't they? They're topping it out a little bit up there. If you look through this, these devices that's connected here are a combination of county-owned and personally owned. Okay? And we can break it down and tell you which ones are personally owned what. If you look at the Android and iPhones, those are about 50% county-owned, 50% personally owned. So that gives you some indication. The BlackBerries, there's only like 2 personally owned ones in the BlackBerry group. The iPads, there's probably around 75 to 80% personally owned on the iPads. And then the Windows Phone, and we find that sort of interesting. There's one Windows Phone up here, and it is personally owned. Okay? And then the 2 notebook computers, these are for some people that work for public health, and they said, we actually believe our technology, we have a home's better than what you're going to give us, so can we use it? So there are personal computers there that are connected, and really if you get down to notebook and desktops and so forth, those are the only 2 in that category that are Bring Your Own Device. As far as our network, and I just added this slide after you were talking about the network there, because this is a very important piece of Bring Your Own Device. You have to be able to support it. And our network, we have public and private in all facilities, and we also supply a number of downtown Wi-Fi's with this. And we've actually had 30,000 plus devices connected to our network, our public network, at one particular point in time. Really haven't topped it out at any time, but that's quite a few. But what we're looking at in the next year is to actually triple our bandwidth into our facility to these. I wanted to break out here just a little bit, and sort of like Ken, I'm not going to read these to you, but some things that you need to have in place if you're moving into BYOD. And this is our mobile device acceptable use policy. Notice it doesn't say bring your own device, but when you scroll down in it a little bit, or really in the first paragraph, I think it says that this could be county-owned devices or personally owned devices. So this was the first policy that started to say you can bring a personal device and we'll work with it. Now, a little bit of an attempt to define what they are. A lot of people's eyes are sort of like mine, and it's hard to see that far away. But those are basically what we defined, but we didn't limit it because who knows what's going to be in the future that people might be carrying. It's wide-ranging and so forth. But basically, what the policy says, because I'm not going to go through and read all this to you, it says that you can bring a personal device, but if you bring that personal device, you have to work with the technology department to connect it to our network. And you have to sign saying that you're going to abide by some rules we got in here. And one of the rules you said about not touching the personal devices. Well, if this is a device is connected to our network and possibly has county data on it, somebody loses it, I want to be able to reach out and touch it. So that was one of the first barriers that we run into, because we wanted the ability to go out and just blow that computer, that smart device away, turn it into a brick if you lose it and so forth. Well, that doesn't sound like a bad idea until you think about, some lady over here that's working in our department, and, she's probably in my age range and has on there 30,000 pictures of her grandkids. And of course, hadn't thought about backing it up anyway, and loses the phone. Well, the policy says we're going to blow it away if it's lost. And that's one of the hard pieces up here. It also says that we will help you support it. If it's your phone and you're connected for legitimate county purposes, if it breaks or something, we don't want you to be unproductive because we're going to have a hands-off approach. No, we will help you get it fixed and get you up and running and so forth. It has added to our workload, no doubt about that. It's probably added 20 to 30 hours a month supporting these smart devices, but we feel like that's made up in the productivity of our employees. What all else is said. If you want a copy of this, I tell you what, I will put this on the nclgisa listserv today. That way it'll be out there and anybody can take a look at it. The other piece that came shortly after that, and this was adopted, as you can see, this year, and this was actually not created by the technology department, but it was created by the budget office, is a device reimbursement. So if you're using your own device for county business, we probably should pay you a little bit for it. And so we went into that particular process. Basically, this one sort of contradicts what the other one says, is that you're responsible for all the service and maintenance on those devices. But that's the break fix, If you break this thing, like drop it in some water or something, we can't fix it. So you're responsible for all of that. And you have to, you'll notice at the very top, it's with approval of the department head. And it also states that you have to have this to perform your duties as an employee. So if they want to use their own personal device and perform county duty on it, then we're willing to reimburse them. But it is the department head's decision. It's not, if you get one, you're automatically going to get reimbursed. So you're probably saying, okay, how much is it? Okay, those are the amounts that we reimburse employees for use of their personal devices. Again, it's based on the department head. So this is mainly related to cell phones, smart devices, as you can see, for a low usage, $22 a month, medium usage, $34, and for the data, we're giving $17 per month. Now, while these numbers are up here, they can be negotiated if you've got somebody that uses it a lot heavier and would need more time. So it's up to the department head exactly what they would be negotiated to. We do have some employees that do a lot of work from home, and we do have an internet-based reimbursement for them too. So I'll stop talking at that point because I don't know where the question may have went. Yes.
So earlier when you were talking about, you added some support calls for time and hours for supporting folks with mobile devices, but you felt like you made that up in some fashion in productivity. What kind of metrics have you guys come up with to measure whether you're bringing value? You know what I mean? How do you know if you're getting something good out of it?
Well, I'm not sure I can give you a good answer there. I can tell you basically how many hours it's added to our support in the technology department, but I can't tell you how many hours it's helped in the field by having all these devices out there. We do know that we've got employees now that do not come in at all. I mean, they leave their house, do their job, go back to their house, and just in time alone and so forth. And the caseload, like in social services, the number of cases and so forth they're handling during the day has increased. So there's metrics there to show that, by not having to come to an office, not having to carry a particular type of device, being able to do things right on the scene. But can I give you an overall metric? No, I can't.
How about goodwill? Are people, you feel a lot more goodwill now that you've kind of allowed this sort of thing to happen, or?
Well, that was one of the things. It was happening whether we were going to allow it to or not.
Sure.
People were connecting, getting their email and so forth, and we had this stuff running wild. And now we can tell you that those devices you saw there are the only ones that are pulling down email through our system on a personal device. So it allowed us to get a whole lot more control over it. And actually, I think those folks that get a new phone and they bring it in, and they realize now they don't have to sneak or talk to a buddy on how to get on. They just bring it to us. We connect it all up for them, and yeah. So there's a lot of goodwill in that particular area.
With, you talking about social services going out in the field, they're gathering data from a client, and then they lose that device. Are these devices encrypted?
Yeah.
They have to be encrypted.
The ones that they're using, are encrypted. The actual ones that may be using an iPad or something or another are not using anything that's stored on the device itself. All of those are going back to a web-based through Citrix or through an outside service that we've contracted with. So to answer your question, if it's a notebook and there's still data residing, it is encrypted. If it's an iPad, nothing
Now,
resides
that
on
would
it.
be the county owned.
Excuse me.
And if the county owns, that'd be a personal device, and if it is encrypted, do they have to pay for it?
We do not have any encrypted ones. I mean, social services using it in notebooks. All we've got is some tablets and something. Yes.
Terry, do you have any specific application examples, whether it be phone or tablet, that people are using on their personal devices above and beyond email, that you see value in, or that they're finding value in?
We have, let's just go to mine. And we have a number of people using GoodReader, and basically that's just to help them read all the documents that's in there. We've got a number of people using the Quick Office that's up there. Sure, anything else on that particular page. If you look across the bottom of my screen, mine is set up exactly like our commissioners are set up. And the commissioners have mail, they have Dropbox, and here again, this is an issue. How do you control Dropbox and keep all the public records? Well, everything that goes in this Dropbox comes out of a network drive into Dropbox and then goes to them. So everything is preserved somewhere else, in other words. iBooks, and you could use any reader on this, but this is our commissioner's library, and it's also the library for some of our workers in the field. All those manuals and so forth that you have to know about, or all those documents that you have to have, they're stored in PDF, and they'll just bring it right up there. For example, this one. This is our project portfolio, and it's bringing up something about Mycotawga County in here. But all of these documents that they've had to carry around or had to have somewhere is now being used on them. This is one area where it's really helped, like some of the fire marshals and so forth. I don't know what kind of records they have, but they were carrying their books and so forth. The plans for the fire departments, I'm getting out of the area I know I'm comfortable with, but there's plans for all commercial buildings and so forth, fire plans, and so they're carrying stuff like that around that they used to have paper copies of.
I just follow up on the GoodReader. I use that as an excellent app. County employees, how do they get the documents on GoodReader? And reach out to that Dropbox, allowing that to be published to
It depends on what group they're dealing with. If some of them get them through email, the PDFs come through email. If it's a department-related site, departments have a Dropbox in which there's a mirror Dropbox on our network to get them into that. So there's different routes that they actually. But if it comes in as a PDF, you can just tell it open in Goodreader or iBooks or whatever. Yes.
How are you handling the termination of an employee who's got a personal device to ensure that there's no data that's owned by, it should be state-owned or left on that machine?
We bring them in, frisk them, and take everything off of them. That's probably more true than comical at this point. Whenever we do have an employee to leave, we do bring them in and we disconnect a lot of their devices and so forth. And things such as their smart devices and so forth, we actually have them to wipe out things related to the county, and we watch them do that. I'm not sure you can ever be sure that all the data is gone, but as best we can, we clean up all of that. The other thing is, most of these applications that we're running are web-based, so we have control of them, so they can't ever get to them again once we take away their rights. And most of them actually store the stuff on our servers and so forth. So we've got good control over that.
Did the employees show any concern that the employer had too much access to their device?
Actually, it was very little. We've had a couple of employees that say, yeah, we're watching over their solar and we can look in there. Actually, we have the ability to blow it away. I'm not sure we have the ability to look in. And so it's probably more unfounded than they would think. We did have some employees concerned about their personal stuff on there, because we told them if it's lost or stolen and so forth, we will actually erase it. And I think what it's led to is our employees becoming a little sharper technically, and most of them now are backing up their pictures and so forth to iCloud or some type of service like Dropbox. So really, after the first initial month, we have not had any concern expressed there.
How much access are you giving to these devices? We currently have access to just email. Are you using network share access?
They have access through Citrix to quite a bit. Whatever they can access through the Citrix system and what programs they are allowed to go to. And there again, Citrix as a client, in my opinion, is sort of limiting. So they're not just surfing around and looking everywhere. They're usually going to the application they need. They've learned how to bring that up, and they're dealing with that.
Terry, you treat exempt and non-exempt employees the same with the same policy?
I'm sorry, I couldn't.
Do you treat exempt and non-exempt employees with the same policy?
I know where you're going with that, and the answer is yes, we do. On the Fair Labor Standards, we have not had any issues there. Basically, what's stated in that policy somewhere is that we're not telling you you have to work 24 hours a day because you have this. We're giving it to you because you wanted it, and these are the hours that you work. So there's a little bit in the policy that relates to that.
The other questions, I know it's a lot to react to, especially in the space of BYOD. How many of you have pilot projects or projects that are sitting in the audience that would like to kind of talk through some of the challenges or successes that you're having as it relates to BYOD?
Ours is what we're going to do about when somebody leaves, and the difference between Apple, Android, and even Blackberries. We haven't found a way in a Blackberry to go in and remove somebody's just a mail account. That we've only found a way to have to blow the device away. Whereas at least on an Apple or Android phone and that sort of thing, you can at least go in and remove that either the active sync or cancel the account on the BlackBerry, it'll still leave that data on the phone unless you completely blow it away. Or somebody else knows a different way that we haven't found it yet.
And that's the reason, that's the ultimate of what we do. We're not trying to be selective here.
I know in the later versions of cities, cloud gateway, remotely wide, receiver, it does as much streaming as the person
Well, we can, but that doesn't, unless they've been accessing email through that.
if there's, data,
And in our policy we have there, if you're employed, you have to go through several things and make sure if it's your personal advisor is using them. One is the mail, you have to make sure that you have access to that, and the calendaring and the task. So all three of them are required in the policy to be
You got a cohesive solution for breaking the system if it's lost or stolen, that you already using hodgepodge if it's Windows and a hodgepodge if it's Android, or do you have one?
We have an overall mobile device control. On Androids, we're using a program called Advanced, ADAST, and we're using just the active setting on the iPhones. Excuse me?
Have you considered like an airlock or something like that?
We have, we just have to move that. We haven't had very many problems. And so until you start encountering those and start getting some risk, it's hard to convince people for funding.
Yeah, I was curious if anyone's dealing with BYON, if anyone has any policies or how they're addressing that.
I'm assuming by you mean network?
Yeah, and this is probably a question for the group as well.
I bring my own network to work every day, and I really make IT upset. But basically, in our wing of the school, we're in the, so I've met UNC Chapter, that's why I love the jacket that the front hat on. But basically on our wing, we have connectivity issues a lot of times, and so we, being a part of Shannon's group, kind of can tell we rebel routes at some point in time. So we bring in our own network, and IT does not like it at all. And if I were in my previous role in IT, I would have an issue with it as well. And you really have, the IT departments really have to have some policies and procedures in place. And also, you have to hear your customers when they say they need something, because just like we talked a little bit about in class yesterday, we will find workarounds because our end user community or our customers are becoming very intelligent, and they will find workarounds to whatever policies or things that you have in place, and it can compromise your network. So I'm not, what I'm saying is I'm not justifying bringing my network in, but if you do not, as an IT organization or department, if you do not hear what your users are saying, they will do things that will compromise your network. And I would also like to say, if you're thinking about BYOD, really thinking through the structure, the policies, and all that stuff on the front side will save you some stress. Because the technical stuff, I think we do this all day, every day. We really need to think through the policy pieces, the stipend pieces, the culture of our organizations. I think you really have to evaluate all that before you jump all the way into BYOD. I think Ernst raised your hand up.
Yeah, I'm in the educational space, and so we have our students who, just like you said, they're going to do it whether or not we let them or not. So I guess the general question for the group is, at what level of responsibility do I have in terms of being providing them access to our wireless network? At what level does my responsibility for protecting them from themselves, as far as
Sit up.
Your absolute responsibility is simple. Child Protection Act. That is an absolute red line. You cannot give up filtering responsibilities. So if a child is accessing network resources of any variety, utilizing federal funds, then they must be filtered for lewd and offensive, pornographic, all that given the list. That's your red line. After that, it's a matter of protecting them from themselves in a broad sense. What we do as a district, and I suspect you're probably saying, is if a child gets past your protections and causes damage, that causes criminal liability. So if they go in and they hack into a server and they cause damage to the server, then that is criminal mischief, and they're charged for that crime. So as an IT director, I take it very seriously because I don't want a child not to be able to go to UCG because they have sorry. I am so sorry. Because they have a criminal record. But so you have to have the lockdowns to protect them from bad choices to their kids. They're going to make bad choices.
Well, I'm at a community college.
They still make bad choices. But if you use E-rate funds, then filtering is required. If you don't use E-rate funds, then you guys are wide open. But I would still think because of what they can do, things like file sharing. The music industry is getting ready to do a brand new scoop and grab where they find people to punish for sharing music. That's starting to happen right now, so you start hearing in the paper probably next couple of weeks. Anything that you can do to prevent that, like on our kids network, file sharing is disallowed, so no file sharing. Even though we also have the requirement because we're K-12, we have to filter. You don't have to filter, but I would definitely block file sharing because if they identify that child, that young person in your school as using your network to share music or whatever, then not only you held responsible, but they're held responsible, and they will be hauled in for litigation.
And we filter our network too, even though we're not held to the same guidelines. And that came up as in our library system. Freedom to any type of data, and we're like, okay, so you're going to sit there and watch porn on a screen that's available to the public. And thank goodness E-rate gave us the out there because they do receive E-rate funds. If you've got E-rate funds at American Public Library, you have to filter it. And so that gave us an out, but we filter the whole network for certain things. Now, we can't filter for everything. Will they find a way around it? Yeah, they will. One of the things on the municipal, and Jason's back there, he's got the city of Newton. You limit the time and I think the bandwidth.
We limit the bandwidth right now, and every 24 hours they have to agree to the internet use policy.
And he is one of the municipalities that's sucking down stuff off of our internet. He's the reason for the 30,000 plus at the one point up there.
And we're double filtering. We filter and you filter, so I'm catching it twice.
I'm gonna take one other comment because we gotta clear the room. That's One County.
In K-12 environment, my bigger concern with bringing your own devices is what they might bring to my network as an attack, not on purpose, but because they don't have good virus protection, that kind of thing, malware. So I'm very concerned about that. We do have guest networks, and we limit the bandwidth, how much they can use of our pipes. Mine's a security concern. Not bringing their own devices, they may not be protected by our devices.
And I would recommend we would put an access sheet that looks at their device, and if it does not have up-to-date virus protection on it, disallow access against
I hate to shut it down, but conversation is really good around this. These guys will be here. I want to thank Terry and Ken for their presentations. And thank you guys for sitting in and being patient with us. Go to break, and I think the next session starts at 10.
It's just too much to handle. Big change.